So I've been wanting to do this video for a while, and this is actually just a test because I really don't know if I have thought through this enough to talk to all of it. But this video is about decluttering. So decluttering is a very popular word these days. A lot of us who come from privileged settings, who have access to money and resources, understand very well what it means. We have had this experience that when we have money and resources, we are in a position to buy things we want, things we need. We are able to spend on experiences, activities, events, travel, and many, many such things. And because we have the money, we don't really need to think twice or maybe even think once before we go ahead and spend on these objects or activities or whatever. And so it happens that we end up then buying things that we don't really want or don't really care about. We end up going to events that we don't really have a connection with. We end up spending on travel, going to places that don't really mean anything to us. And then afterward, we just feel guilty. We feel bad about having spent the money. And if it's a particular object, if it's clothes or books or electronic gadget or whatever, then we feel guilty that we spent the money. So then we don't know what to do about it. We don't want to give it away because it costs money, but we don't much feel like using it. So it just occupies space in our homes, in our lives. And it reminds us that we were hasty or we didn't value the money or our effort when we purchased this thing. And that's when the idea of decluttering comes, that you need to let go of these objects and free them, let them go from your life, and so that you can get on with your life and get rid of the guilt and so on. And that's also where the concept of minimalism comes in. And minimalism is a huge trend where there are lots of people who feel they want to really pare down their life, make it very basic, very essential, and let go of anything extra that binds them, that doesn't allow them to be free and flexible. But then there are lots of people who also say, hey, I love the objects in my life. I love my clothes, I love my books. Why do I need to give them away? There is no real reason. Just because if you feel it's too much, you go ahead and give them away. Don't make me do it. And so there's a lot of going back and forth between these two camps of people. And I have a little bit of a different take on it. And this actually stems from my own personal experience. And I want to talk about it from the point of view of energy. So, we may all know these people in our lives. There are these people who seem to have boundless energy. They seem to have a lot of things going on in their life. They have a lot of activities, a lot of social gatherings, huge social networks, and busy calendars. And they seem to be just going through it just beautifully, flawlessly, from one event to the other, one activity to the other, and they're just balancing it all. And they all look so happy, successful, productive. It looks like a great life, right? And these people may or may not also have many objects in their homes, cars and books and clothes. It just looks like a formula for success. Looks like an example of what a successful life is. And you may also know people in your cohort or just in your friend circle who have a very different life, whose lives are probably more quiet. Maybe they have children, maybe they don't have children, maybe their jobs are a lot more less, what's the word for it, less taxing. They have more time possibly, and maybe they don't really travel as much, or their just lives seem to be quieter or smaller, you know. And I think this is like two ends of the spectrum, and most people are probably in between. Now, disclaimer, I am towards the other end of the spectrum, where my life, the quiet kind of life, that's probably mine. But I also wanted to share something from my life which might kind of explain this a little better. So, for about 10 years of my life, I was very actively involved in the Art of Living Foundation. So I was an instructor. I used to conduct children's workshops, adult workshops, meditation programs. I used to coordinate follow-up sessions, coordinate introductory sessions, silent retreats, and a lot of things. I had a pretty full calendar. And I think when I was about 35 or so, I just started to feel like, is this all a bit too much? Have I just got like way too much going on in my life? like so many people, so many activities, and all that. And I wasn't drained, and I wasn't certainly lacking in energy or anything. I wasn't exhausted or any of that. But it started to feel like I was everywhere and nowhere. And so I started cutting back. I said, I don't want to teach these programs. I don't want to coordinate this. And slowly, slowly, I started dialing down my activity level. And then around the same time, I also kind of started to take a real good look at all the objects in my life and all the activities I was part of. I was learning Sanskrit, I was also learning music, and I started to think, it just felt like the charm just went out of everything. So I just kind of wanted to just withdraw. So I even stopped going to a lot of social events and gatherings. I just didn't feel like I wanted to be with many people. I wanted to be with myself. I wanted to spend time in nature, going on walks, going on hikes. And I really started experiencing the joy of solitude at that time. So also the time where I got rid of a lot of objects. I got rid of a lot of furniture, clothing, books, music, also hair. I got a major haircut that time. And I really started to love this space, and love the quiet and the solitude and the aloneness. And this phase continued for a while, and then I gradually came back and joined society like a regular person. And but I guess what I'm trying to say is that uh, whether your life is busy and huge and big, or whether it is quiet and simple, and it doesn't have to be one or the other, it might be very well right in the middle. It has a lot to do with your energy, with your emotional, physical, mental bandwidth. I realized that I did not have the kind of mental, physical, emotional bandwidth to support all of these activities, all these people, all these events, and all these objects. I just didn't. I may have been able to support it, and I thought I was able to, right? For a good 25, 35 years of my life, I went through it because I just thought that's what it meant to be happy, successful, productive. But at one point, I think when I was 35, the charm just went out of it. And I just realized, even though I had the physical energy, I had no inclination to support all these things in my life. I just wanted to pare it down. But if you are the sort of person who has that kind of physical, mental bandwidth to support all these things, and these things give you energy, then by all means, you don't need to be a minimalist, you don't need to declutter any of that. I mean, within reason, of course. Nobody, I mean, if you have an insane schedule, if you have like a house full of objects falling on you, no one's going to be happy in that scenario. But if you truly feel that all these things, and by things I mean everything, events, travel, social gatherings, objects, experiences, if you feel all of them, some of them, most of them give you energy, keep you going, then you don't need to give up any of those things. If you love all your clothes and these clothes make you feel good, you don't feel claustrophobic in your closet, keep your clothes. There's no need for you to get rid of them or take them to Goodwill. But if at any point you feel that these activities and all these external objects are not really serving you, not all of them are serving you, some of them are actually taking your energy away, that is the point at which you would think about decluttering and paring down. So the whole idea of decluttering and minimalism, it's not really a formula for everyone. And if it is, then it really is a very custom formula. You really have to look at what works for you, what doesn't, and it's different for every person. So I found my balance, my medium, and it makes me very happy. It makes me relaxed, and I wish it does the same for you also. So go ahead and do that work, and I think you will be very happy with the results.